Drem you look, watchers mine. Happy to see you back on the channel. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and cover a summary of Destiny's base game story. I will be leaving a few things out that I did not necessarily find vital to the story, at least in the sense of what info we have now knowing the future of Destiny in regards to what we used to know back then. And I'm going to be honest here, the base storyline for the base game is pretty confusing. So I try to summarize it in a way that you guys would understand if you are new to the franchise and whatnot. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope that it sheds some light on everything that you've missed in the first story arc of the game. This series will go ahead and help shed some light on the entire Destiny timeline. So if you've missed certain events throughout the years, then, you know, that's what this series is for. Without further ado, let us cross the line together. The story of our Guardian is one that starts like any other, with an origin. We awake in a place known as the Cosmodrome, an old industrial facility located in old Russia. The Cosmodrome would be a very significant place to us in the coming years, but back then, we had only one goal: escape. Aided by the help of our new companion, a small white drone who would be known to us as a ghost, we eventually came to find an old ship, repaired it, and used it to return to the last city. Here, you would meet some notable characters and be introduced to the Vanguard, consisting of 3 members. Cade 6, representing the hunters of the last city, representing all of those who are lone wolves amongst the wild. Ikora Ray, representing the warlocks of the last city, representing all those who seek knowledge and the will to understand. And Zavala, representing the titans of the last city, representing all those who will be brave against the dark and protect the last city. These 3 would be your guide in fighting against the darkness, though we were not just yet ready to face off against it, for we had others to meet. The Speaker, voice of the Traveler. You meet with him later that night and are informed briefly on the battle between the darkness and the light, how the Traveler was hunted, and in its dying breath it created the Ghost. Shards of the Traveler meant to seek out those to wield the Traveler's light as a weapon. The Guardians. With your help, the children of the last city would no longer live in fear. And so, thus begins our first adventure as a light bearer, as a guardian of the last city. Our first task would be to find the parts for our ship we had found. We would need a hyperdrive to be able to fight beyond Earth. And so we took to the Cosmodrome to investigate a destroyed ship that had crashed. The Fallen, however, had managed to grab that part that we needed, so we took to tracking them down. We would learn that the Fallen were once a proud and noble race known as Lixney. However, due to an event known as the Whirlwind, the race was brought to its knees. They took to scavenging and dividing themselves up in different houses in order to survive. As we found the Fallen who took the parts, we came face to face with Rixus, an Archon for the House of Devils. With our newfound light and combined effort, we defeated him and obtained our warp drive. Though our efforts on Earth did not stop there. The Fallen had been keeping a watch over the old Skywatch. The Speaker had assigned us to investigate. As we brought the clues together as to how to get inside, we found what they were keeping trapped: we would come across an alien race known as the Hive, one of the darkest and most vile species among the solar system. Known for their dark rituals and worship, they would be an extreme threat, and if they were located on Earth, it would mean something darker is lurking among the shadows. As we fought through them, we came across one of their wizards, who we then came to the conclusion had come from the moon. Our next task would be to further investigate what the Fallen were up to. The Vanguard had reported they'd been tearing into machines, seeking something out. We had discovered here that they were trying to breach into some sort of network. They had been stopped repeatedly by some sort of firewall, who was of Russian origin. This firewall would be known to us as Rasputin, an artificial intelligence designed to protect Earth. Rasputin is known as a war mind, and seeking out Rasputin and establishing a link would be what we were called to next. Near the Skywatch, a fire team of Guardians had fallen. Their ghosts contained the codes we would need to access Rasputin. After we tracked down their ghosts, we would then head deeper into the Skywatch. After activating a large array of satellites and panels, we would fight off waves of the Hive forces. After they had retreated, we would return to the control station. We would see that Rasputin had connected himself to the defense systems across all the solar system. Perhaps there was hope against the dark. After tracking the Fallen for some time, we would get reports that the Fallen House of Devils had been up to no good. Their leader, known as Sepix Prime, would be our target. We ventured into the Cosmodrome and had come face to face with this machine god the Devils had worshipped, for it was now time to end it. This steal to their leader would be a very significant blow to the House of Devils. Feeling the need to investigate the Hive wizard that we had found on Earth, our travels took us to the moon. We'd also been there to investigate the disappearance of a Guardian. We headed out to track down their trail, but were met with a rather grim setting. For Guardians, though they are immortal, it is not the same as invincibility. Upon finding a temple, known as the Temple of Crota, a place of Hive significance, we would discover the death of this Guardian. In this Titan sitting before us, there was little to nothing left. No ghost, no light. Though we were not the only ones here, someone had been hiding in the shadows. But just before we could investigate further, we woke the Hive. As we fought through the coming hordes, our ghost was able to find the Titan's ghost on his scanner. Upon obtaining the ghost, we read its memories. The ghost had found that the Hive were creating an army and were preparing to invade Earth. We needed to investigate further into this plan of theirs. The ghost that we had mentioned previously had contained the location of a database in the Hive Fortress, known as the Hellmouth. The library in which would contain the information we need, however, would be known as the World's Grave. As we ventured down, we hunted down a Hive champion to gain an access key. Once we slew their champion, the path became clear. Ghosts would direct us down into the grave. We would then reassure you that it was the world's grave, not yours.
This should lead us right to the grave. The world's grave, not ours.
It was after Ghost had finished hacking the terminal that the grim truth was revealed to us. The Hive had been digging their claws into Earth for centuries. They already had a presence, and the city needed to be warned. After we had warned the speaker of the Vanguard, we were then assigned to our next task. It is here we first learned of Crota, a god amongst the Hive who had wielded a sword so dark it drained any light it touched. This sword had been used to slay hundreds to thousands of guardians back when he was alive. The warlocks of the last city are led to believe that this sword was located within the Hellmouth, guarded by the swarm princes who had created the sword. We ventured once more to seek this weapon of the dark out. We would first do this by hunting down the swarm princes. After tracking the sword by the light of guardians it's killed, we took held of the sword, using its power to lure out the swarm princes. One by one we slew the swarm princes that had been drawn out. Here we defeated Garok, Prince of Zol, Dakura, Prince of Yul, and Merk, Prince of Ir. With these three princes defeated, it would strike a devastating blow to the Hive. Just as quickly as the sword came, it dispelled within our hands. As we patrolled the moon, we were given an urgent transmission from the speaker. He was led aware that there was a ritual that was draining the light of the traveler somewhere in the Hellmouth. Then became our job to seek out how they were performing it. We scanned cracks along the surface of the moon in hopes to find a sign as to where the ritual was happening. Then, with a spark of hope, we picked up on their trail. The ritual was located somewhere in the Temple of Crota. As we approached the gates, however, we were given a distress signal. Though it was full of static, as we moved out into the open, we were given a rather interesting message.
Let's get out in the open.
You're interesting. Not entirely interesting, but you have promise.
Who is that?
I don't know. I'm losing the signal.
Guardian, I know what you're about to do. It's brave. But there are enemies out here you would not believe.
Out where?
Go down and face the Hive. And if you live, come find me.
Signal dropped. I got some broken coordinates. Venus, Northern Hemisphere, Ishtar region. Great. What do we do now?
We go down.
Upon being given these coordinates, we still, however, had a task to handle. Our trip to Venus would be for another moment in time. We then discovered that the Hive were performing the ritual on a shard of the Traveler. After defeating the champions that came to stop us, we ended up freeing the shard. Before we took our adventure to Venus, we had one more task to handle on the moon. There were tales of a legendary warlock who had been exiled from the city. This warlock, named Osiris, had concerns with a shrine on the moon. This shrine would be known as the Shrine of Oryx. Osiris wants this destroyed. The shrine had been located deeper into the Hellmouth than we'd ever been. To our surprise, the Fallen had been attempting to invade the Hellmouth as well, but the reason, however, would be a mystery. Upon discovering the shrine, we moved to strike. Ghost would investigate and see that the shrine was tethered to something far out beyond our solar system. So we attempted to find a way to break the connection. Once it was weak, we fired upon it. Upon its destroyal, Ghost mentioned that it was tied to some sort of god or king, though this king was still out there. Now, however, it was time we ventured to Venus. Now a vast, dense jungle world, we traveled to a colony built by the Ishtar Collective, a group that sought out knowledge and studied ruins older than the very collapse of humanity itself. We first started to get a lay of the land, traveling to an outpost along a hillside. Upon accessing the database, we were informed of the presence of a race of machines known as the Vex. These Vex would have the ability to teleport. Seems like a fun time, doesn't it? Looking back at the stranger's coordinates, we headed in that direction. Then, we were met with some sort of conflux. Ghost examined it, then out of nowhere, the Vex appeared. The Vex would come in waves, appearing out of a thick black fog. Once we defeated them, our stranger had appeared.
Well fought.
You're here.
We haven't got much time.
Who are you?
Why have you been watching us?
I don't even have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. I will. I know.
Will what?
I wasn't talking to you, little light.
I'm a ghost, actually.
Many Guardians fell. Strong ones. But you made it here. Yes, I'm listening. They are here. With me.
Who's she talking to?
Understood. You need my help, Guardian.
Is that why you brought us here?
They brought us here. The Vex. Evil so dark it despises other evil.
You're not a Guardian.
No. I was not forged in light. But I believe where our paths cross, ground could break. Have you heard of the Black Garden?
We've heard the legends.
The greatest threat to us all lies there. Where these machines are born. Find the Black Garden. Rip out its heart. Only then will your traveler begin to heal.
Can you help us find it?
My path's my own. I can't.
If we're going to find the Black Garden, we need to see the Awoken.
Ah, yes. The Awoken. Out there wavering between the light and the dark. A side should always be taken, little light. Even if it's the wrong side. Too late returning. How many? Hold position, kill the engines, and don't let them find you.
So, how do we find the Awoken?
They live all the way out at the edge of the darkness. Last place the light touches. Can't we just stay here with the murderous robots?
No. Little light.
Don't do that.
We then ventured to the Reef, where we met with Marasov, Queen of the Awoken. We would come to her requesting information on the Black Garden, and how to access it. After some negotiating, she would let us know that we would need an eye of a Vex Gate Lord, a watcher over a time gate. We then ventured to seek out one of these Vex, so we could pick their brain and hopefully find where we could face off against a Gate Lord. After defeating it, we pulled its mind core and sought out a research station to plug the core into. Here, we learned that the Vex are a hive mind. They can teleport across star systems to distant. Then, we found how to get the Gate Lord, and Ghost had a plan. Apparently, the Vex had transformed Mercury into a machine in only a few days. Goes to show why the Exostranger was so terrified of them. Regardless of this, we were ready for the event. We were ready for the challenge. The hunt began, and we ventured forth to track down the Gate Lord. After Ghost had begun to hack out the network, we found that the Gate Lord would be located in a place known as the Endless Steps. Once we arrived, we summoned the Gate Lord, Zydron. After defeating this beast, we would rip out its eye, then now return its eye to the Queen. Queen Marasov and her brother Uldren looked with surprise as we returned. Mara was delighted, while Uldren had begun to fume.
It is alive, and still has its ball.
There is no shame in running away, Guardian. Apart from the cowardice and failure of it, it's an excellent strategy.
We didn't run.
Was no Gate Lord slain, brother?
Oh, we slayed a Gate Lord.
Ghost. We need to find the Black Garden.
They don't even know where it is.
Let us tell them. Search the Gate Lord for that which gains them entrance.
Why? If you wish them certain death, just kill them here.
Often when we guess at others' motives, we reveal only our own.
My motive is simply loyalty to a people, a queen and a sister.
Then please, take what is required.
Dead, unfortunately. A wasted journey, I'm afraid.
Perhaps. But I think these ones resourceful. We gift it, in sympathy for their traveler.
Mars. 84 North, 32 East, Meridian Bay.
I have shown you benevolence, Guardian. Should the Awoken ever need an ally, I will call on you. And expect you to answer.
She's saying you owe us, Guardian.
I understand. Your Grace.
Good luck getting through the exclusion zone.
This debt we now came to owe the Awoken would be paid off later. For now, we were still up to the journey of finding the Black Garden, this source of darkness. Following Aldrin's coordinates, we would travel to Mars. Upon landing in the sandy deserts of Mars, we would be informed by ghosts of a new alien race. For this would be the first time we personally would face off against them. 800 pounds and highly militarized, the Cabal exterminate entire planets just for getting in the way, and our actions here would result in war.
I guess that was their failsafe.
After defeating this wave of Cabal, we got onto our Sparrow and drove out of the coordinates of the gate. It became clear that the Cabal were also lashing out against the Vex forces protecting the gate. After obtaining an access key to the Cabal database, we searched for any information we could on the gate to the Black Garden. Unfortunately, there was little information. It became apparent that the Cabal knew just as much as we did about the gate. However, Ghost still had a plan. Deep inside one of the Cabal war bases, there was a Vex network spire. If we could get to the spire, we could then figure out how to use the eye to access the gate to the Black Garden. And so we rode off on our Sparrows across the barren wastelands once more. Upon finding one of the Cabal observation towers, we were able to locate where the Vex spire would be located. Once we marked the location, we ventured forth. The Cabal, however, knew we were coming. Stop the Guardian. This was their goal, and they would not allow us through. We were being ambushed, trapped like a rat in a small place. The waves of enemies kept coming, the Cabal armed with slug rifles and miniguns. We continued to push them back best we could. Then, we needed to open the door to get out. Here, we would be met with more Cabal, but we now knew what needed to be done to proceed. Storm the keep. Finally, as we made it to the spire, Ghost began to work his magic. We saw something rather interesting. The key to the Black Garden had been formed. But just as we grabbed it, the Cabal had begun to grow infuriated. We were ambushed by one of the fleet's leaders, Primus Sha'u. After defeating our foes, we now had the means to head into the garden. And so, we did. As we approached the gate, the Vex Confederates fought back. Though as us Guardians do, we defeated them. Then, in a flash of light, we were brought to the portal. Could this be the fabled Black Garden, containing the heart of darkness itself? Or could it have been some trick? Regardless, there was evil here, and it needed to be eradicated. As we opened the doors to the heart, a large shrine was visible. Many Vex mechs were sitting there worshipping the dark, though they were alerted of our presence. The heart began to awaken the statues that lay in front of it. Now it was kill or be killed. First to be slain would be the Eschatan mind, then the imminent mind, and finally the primeval mind. The death of these three would be enough to destroy this heart and silence it forever. For this day would mark the start of a new era for Guardians of the Last City. As for what happened next, I'll let you see for yourself, O Watcher's Mind.
For centuries we feared the forces of darkness massing against us. We sought to hide and cower beneath a broken god. No more. These guardians show us what we are, what we have always been, and what we will be again. We are what remains of the light, and we will not be stamped out.
It's a day for pretty speeches and medals. But we know the real fight takes place out there. Take this. There's so much more, Guardian. I've seen terrible things born out in the darkness. Every moment brings them closer. All ends are beginnings. Our fight is far from over.
All ends are, in fact, beginnings. The story would not end here. We would be reached out to by a guardian from the Vault of Glass, known as Praedyth. Though it became clear that the Vex were attempting to lure us in. Inside this vault is truly a Vex construct that is still unmatched to this day. The vault serves as a meeting point in the past, present, and future. It is here where a previous fire team fell and was lost to time. Kabir, one of the guardians in the fire team, would sacrifice himself and turn himself into a shield, so future guardians may use this relic to fight back against the Vex machines. Being faced with many challenges, from traveling time lost caverns, facing against the oracles of time, we had faced our final test. We had reached the Vault of Glass. It was here in which Atheon appeared, time's conflux. He is a being that exists beyond time, and is said to even pull all of time into one place. As we were transported into the future and past alike, we defeated time's oracles that would ensure us being lost. It was in this moment we learned guardians make their own fate. As we continued to bend time to our own will, we defeated this large Vex construct, avenging the past guardians who had been lost to time. For this was the end of the Vault of Glass. And this was just only the beginning of the coming darkness. O Watcher's Mind. Thank you so much for watching. That was quite a hefty video, wasn't it? But you made it. Congrats. And hopefully you learned a bit more about this universe. I'm really excited to get into the next few story arcs, and I feel that those are much more entertaining than this one. This one was very jumbled and confusing unless you were really paying attention. But anyways, thank you so much for your support. I have a community Discord link in the description of this video, and if you want to watch the stream that I did for the Vault of Glass raid, I'll go ahead and upload that and leave that in the description as well. Until next we meet, Venok Hai, Wind Guide You.